it's just very instinctive. You just know you want to do this particular role or this particular film. Like, I feel like, oh my God, I want to tell this story. It was a completely different experience, Archith. Talking 19 to the dozen, as always during promotions, but even more hectic now. Can you believe that? I love your quotes, the quotes that you put out.
Thank you.
They're damn cool. Smile and the world will smile back at you. And it's not just about a smile. I think it's about everything that you put back into the world. You get back. Put out positivity, spread love, spread joy, spread faith. Humanity is actually very kind. The biggest gift this pandemic, I think, has given me for sure, and I think all of us, is the realization that the only way to be is to be present.
Hello everyone, I'm Archith Seshadri from Atlanta. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to another edition of Arch Talks, where we share stories to inspire, impact, and influence conversations. In this episode, we go behind the scenes with award-winning Bollywood actress Vidya Balan, the human genius who played the human genius, Shakuntala Devi, in her latest release. Vidya, great to have you on once again.
Thank you, Archith. How are you?
Doing well, doing as best as we can, and taking some sort of comfort thanks to all the amazing content that you and all the amazing artists are putting out for people like us outside
Glad
of India.
to know that.
Well, let's start with Shakuntala Devi. This is one of your first movies released on the OTT platform. How is that like? Because I anticipate when you shot it last year, that perhaps wasn't the intention. It was supposed to be in the big screen.
Absolutely, and this film has scale. So it would have been nice to see it on the big screen. I think the tone was also a bit louder because, obviously, I think the tone and tenor changes according to the medium you're making it for. So I think I love the film the way it is, but my writer was just telling me, Nainika Methani was telling me that maybe for the OTT we could have toned it down a bit. So I like it the way it is. But yes, it was great. It was a completely different experience, Archith. Talking 19 to the dozen, as always during promotions, but even more hectic now. Can you believe that? Because there's no time to, physically travel. That would give you some sort of respite when you're traveling from one studio to the other or one hotel, because a lot of these interviews happen in hotels. Whereas here, I was just sitting in one place doing interview after interview. So the only thing I did was give it a visual break by changing, for quite a few times a day. For every few interviews, after every few interviews, I would change. That was the only way I could have brought in at least a visual variety to what I was doing.
And you do that with so much, zabardast, the passion that you do promotions with. Obviously, we've done in person for Kahani and Begum John. Now this new normal, sitting in front of a computer or iPad and changing outfits. How has it been for you, the artist, the actor, to kind of promote the movie sitting at the comfort of your couch?
It was actually, like I said, a different experience, but I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it. There were some pluses in terms of just not having to brave the traffic, and therefore I could pack in that much more in a day. And I think, especially in the rains, if you don't have to go from one place to the other, it's a real boon, otherwise it gets mucky and dirty. I love enjoying the rains when I'm at home, but when I'm working, I'm not so fond of the rains. So that was good. But, otherwise I'm just passionate about what I do. I feel so blessed to be doing what I do. And therefore, I love promotions because it gives me a chance to talk about what we've all created together. And this was all more special. First time on OTT, of course, but also Shakuntala Devi herself. So, and there was so much to share about that experience, about the person, who the world knew just as a human computer. Of course, it's not just, it's the human computer, but there are so many facets to her. There are so many layers that I got a chance to, I think, almost uh, give people a sense of what they could expect in the film.
And Vidya, when you get scripts, I'm sure you get flooded with scripts, amazing roles that are written specifically for you. What exactly is it that says, you know what, I want to play Shakuntala Devi, I want to play Sulu, I want to play these characters? Is there that it factor that puts that light bulb and you say, you know what, this is a script that I envision that I can bring to life?
I think it's just that, when someone's narrating a story or when I'm reading a script, if I'm able to see myself in the character that's being offered to me, then I know that I want to do it. And if sometimes it's just very instinctive. You just know you want to do this particular role or this particular film. Like I feel like, oh my God, I want to tell this story. But there are times when everything seems perfect and I still feel like, but my heart's not in it. And over time I've learned to pay heed to that voice inside my head and say, okay, even if it's a perfect script and the people are perfect, in terms of the perfect director and the perfect producer, and everyone's like, it's almost like a dream team, but my inner voice does not give me a go ahead. I don't do it.
And I hear that you also put perfume, or you find some level of finding to get in the skin of the character. And I think you mentioned this before, that you obviously cannot look like every character that you play.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you transform from Vidya into a Shakuntala or somebody else that you're portraying on screen?
I just imagine that, I know people, some women smell like they're wearing jasmine in their hair. Some others smell like they've just smoked a cigarette. Someone else, everyone has that unique, fragrance, smell. But I'm one person. So how do these are tools that I use so that I can feel different each time. It's a sort of a trigger, it's a sort of a cue. For Shakuntala Devi, I used a Dior spice blend because I feel like she's a blend of spices. So I look for things like that.
Vidya, with the movie, when it comes to an OTT, I understand there must have been some level of changes, because I've seen a lot of your posts on social media where there are deleted scenes. When you see that, you probably have put in your life and soul into the scene, and it doesn't make the final cut. Was that because of OTT, or would that have happened even if it wasn't the big screen?
No, I think it was just, there are choices you make, in the telling of a story. Sometimes you have to literally do away with something that might feel very special, like that scene where I'm in Calcutta and I go into labor in the middle of the Calcutta streets. I means not me, Shakuntala Devi, for anyone who might be watching and might think otherwise.
The rumors start again, right? We're not going to even go there.
Exactly. No, but I enjoyed that scene and I was so bummed that it didn't make the final cut. But I guess the editor and the director have their reasons. In the telling of the story, sometimes you feel some scenes are probably not adding, some scenes are probably, because every scene must take the story forward. So sometimes I think this happens and then it's very sad though.
Sort of shifting gears on that topic, right, with the fact that we are in a global pandemic. What would Shakuntala Devi do or behave or react if she was alive in 2020, given that we're seeing all of these things that none of us have experienced in our lifetime?
I think she would have been doing her match shows virtually, and therefore reaching her audiences across the world. She would have adapted beautifully. She would have written, I don't know how many books, because there was a time when she wrote 20 books within 2 years.
Amazing.
So she would have
impossible even. Yeah. I don't think we can even read 20 books, let alone write 20 books.
Exactly. And she loved to cook. I'm sure she would have cooked up a storm all the time. She would have just maybe danced, because she traveled so much. I don't think she got a chance to dance too much later in her life. And apparently she enjoyed dancing. I think she would have adapted beautifully to this time.
How has Vidya Balan adapted beautifully to this time? Are there masks now when you go on shoots? Have you gone out on shoots yet? Or what is the new normal for you and fellow actors and artists and producers in India right now?
So, I can see the new normal. I can see how the new normal has impacted the team. As an actor, it's not impacted me that much because I'm not going to be able to wear a mask or a PPE, but everyone else, poor thing, everyone's in masks and PPEs and those face shields and sweating away sometimes, even in an AC environment. I think it's very tough. And then, of course, there's no buffet system now at shoots. Basically, they're being handed out these packed meals. There are those sanitization cubicles that you go through, and it's just different. And there's sanitizer everywhere. And I think there are, again, from my point of view, I am a cleanliness freak, so I feel like, oh, thank God, finally, therefore. You're sure that when someone comes out of the loo,
and personally for you, right, even with your parents and your relatives and your friends, I'm sure this whole interaction has, to a certain extent, changed since March.
No, of course,
and probably going forward, right?
I've met my parents and my sister and her family, but I haven't met anyone outside and Siddharth's side of the family, but not anyone outside of that. We do video chats, we do FaceTime, we chat a lot on the phone, but I'm not much of a phone person. So I have to say that initially, of course, I ended up spending a lot of time on the phone and, Zoom calls and all that. And then I just got fed up. So that's the way we've kept in touch. Otherwise, we haven't been able to meet. Things haven't gone back to normal in that sense yet. Also, because there are so many elderly people in the family, or there are so many children below 10, you just don't want to take any risks.
And in terms of life lessons for you personally, right? What are some of the biggest benefits, the boons, perhaps, because of pandemic? Because a lot of people sit there and complain about all these things. I cannot do this, I cannot do that. But there are some wins. There are some, the globe is giving us a wake-up call. For you personally,
absolutely.
What are some of those wake-up calls that you may already have known, but how has this sort of accelerated that?
I've lived on the beach for 8 years. But during the pandemic, I felt like I owned it. There was no one on the beach. I'd look out and it literally felt like I owned the beach. That was beautiful. And you realize that, sometimes you take things for granted. Like everyone who comes into my house says, oh my God, you live on the beach. How gorgeous is that? After a while, of course, I enjoy the beach. I'm someone who sits on the balcony every night and just watches the waves. But even then, I've never imagined, I've never seen it this empty. Even during high tide, there are people on the beach. And it was spick and span. It was so clean that I just felt like, why can't we be more responsible? And why can't it be like this all the time? I mean, even with people coming in, why can't it be this clean always? But I think, and then that's when I realized that we owe a lot to our environment. And we shouldn't be so callous, especially, the kind of filth that gets thrown on the beach. It's really heartbreaking to see, especially in the rains. The sea throws back all the dirt that we put into, and it's frightening sometimes. I remember the first time I woke up on a rainy morning and I felt like, actually after the rains had subsided, I felt like someone had puked all over the beach. I know this is gross, and then I got to see this the absolute opposite of that during the pandemic. So that was absolutely fantastic. Spending time with Siddharth at a stretch for so many months in one space, that too at home, I think that was a beautiful blessing. And I think more than anything else, I feel very grateful for the life I have, because you begin to count your blessings when you read and watch the kind of struggles that people have gone through and continue to go through during this period.
Yeah, I like that statement a lot. Don't count your followers. Don't count your the money in your bank. Count your blessings, especially now. It gives us perspective on what truly is important.
I must tell you, I love your quotes. The quotes that you put out.
Thank you.
They're damn cool.
They're not all mine. They're inspired, but I feel like we live in sometimes such a world where people are always negative and people are complaining until you're in a situation like this when you're like, you know what, we have everything that we need right here, right now. And just learning
Yeah,
to be appreciative.
absolutely.
I think it's a lost cause sometimes.
Yeah, I think, we all need to appreciate all that we have in our lives that much more. And I also post a lot of these quotes. They aren't mine either. But when I see something nice, I feel like sharing it with more people. So, uh, and there's a lot of wisdom on Instagram, honestly.
There
There's a
really
lot
is.
of
I was going
beauty
to
and
say equally
wisdom.
great minds or equally bored minds, whichever one the audience wants to take.
Exactly.
Vidya, let's also talk about charity. You mentioned about, you have an amazing life that you've evolved and created for yourself. This has been a dream for you. And your journey is truly inspiring for so many people. The challenges and how you overcame that. How are you able to give back? And what are some of those charities that are close to your heart, especially at a time like now?
At a time like now, of course, I've contributed to a lot of charities um, at a state and national level, but also on an individual level. When I've heard of people I know of who are going through tough times, especially from within the industry or even outside, but more within the industry, because, someone would get in touch with my manager or a teammate of mine, and then I would help. So I think I just feel, like I said, I'm very, very fortunate, and I like to do the little that I can for others. I think that I've been brought up to believe that, uh, you have to keep this, um, uh, what do you call that? Oh my God. You have to keep the flow going,
The
you
cycle,
know,
the cycle has
the
to continue.
cycle, the
Yes.
cycle. So I've been brought up to give wherever I can.
And I think it's
And
beautiful. It's a
that's what I
testament to
try
your
and
parents
do.
as well. I think the fact that you do come from very humble beginnings and you don't have insiders in the industry. This is something that you wanted to do and you did it. And now that you're
Right.
there, the full cycle going back and helping those perhaps that could benefit from your generosity.
Yeah. I feel blessed to be able to do what I do.
Speaking of that, quarantine, have you been watching movies? I know we've been exchanging TV recommendations. How have you been spending time? Because
Absolutely.
you love doing a lot of things. I cannot imagine you sitting still and now
No,
you're
I've
forced to
watched
sit
a
still. What
lot
have
of
you been up
shows.
to?
Watched a lot of shows. The latest I watched was I May Destroy You. It's
Okay, please don't destroy me.
absolutely no, but you have to watch the show.
Okay, I
Michaela
haven't heard of
Coel
that
is
one.
just brilliant. She's a writer, director, and the actor in the show, and she is unbelievable. I'm not going to spoil
No
it for you.
spoilers,
So
right?
please, yeah. So please watch it. But that's the latest I've watched, and I'm also watching Call My Agent, which is a French show,
Okay.
which I'm of course watching with subtitles.
Oh, I thought you were fluent in French.
When you tell people, please pardon my French, it means something else.
It means something else, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Vidya, I also wanted to ask you, going forward, your advice to people who perhaps the industry, where do you think 2021, 2022 is going to look like? Because this isn't just that we wake up tomorrow and COVID is gone. We're not going to really ever go back to how it was pre-COVID with handshakes and hugs and all of that. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but you come from a lot of experience, you read, and your own inspiration. Where do you think we will be a few years from now with how we live our lives?
I really don't have an answer to that. Like you said, I don't have a crystal ball. But what I do have is faith. I know that this too shall pass. But this has been a very tough time for people at various levels. For some people, it's been about survival, or for a lot of people, it's been about survival. But for a lot of us, it's also made us confront, issues that we've shoved under the carpet. Our failures, our rejections, relationships that are not working, and sometimes, of course, people have enjoyed spending time with their spouses, or they've grown closer to their friends and roommates, and People have enjoyed being with their families. But I don't know how this period is going to change all of us. Like there are times when I'm driving through and I just feel like, uh, what has changed? There's as much traffic as before. But I'm not talking about those changes, of course, because we need to survive and business will be, go back to how it was. And
Right.
I hope even better. But I think there are other lessons that I hope we all have learned. Value for ourselves, um, value for our time, value for our relationships, and to realize that, we can keep running for the rest of our lives, but beyond a point, I don't know what we're running towards. So we need to ask ourselves those questions. I've been doing a lot of introspection, a lot of thinking, and I realize that sometimes it's okay not to do anything. It's
Right.
sometimes great to rest. You need to rest because that gives you clarity, that it re-energizes you, it rejuvenates you, and gives you fresh perspective, a zeal sometimes which is just missing, because we're so caught up in this whirlpool of just doing that we're not being. I think we need to learn. The biggest gift this pandemic, I think, has given me for sure, and I think all of us, is the realization that the only way to be is to be present in the moment.
I think that's a good advice for anyone at any time, right? Being present and valuing now, because we don't really know what's going to happen. A month,
Yeah,
6 months, a year. We don't know. We hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Exactly. You realize it's futile making long-term plans. It's futile stressing about things. Things always work out. And when you let go and when you surrender, I think they work out even better than you thought they would.
So what about your upcoming projects or films? I'm assuming they're on hold for now. Have you heard anything about the upcoming movies, ad commercials? Have they resumed or will they resume before the end of the year?
I've shot for a couple of ad films. But as far as Sherni is concerned, which is a film I was shooting for before the pandemic hit,
right,
we're hoping to resume post the rains, fingers crossed. And I haven't decided on what to do after that. Almost have, but can't say anything at this point.
Does it make you nervous though when you see all these in the numbers? And I mean, the US and India being unfortunately at the top of the tally board when it comes to cases and deaths. As an artist, as someone who you do have to interact with people, your job is unfortunately like that. You cannot have a quiet set. Do you get nervous at all?
No, I get nervous for sure for people with comorbidities. I think they need to be really careful and watchful. And I don't understand why people won't wear masks. That's something that just it's unfathomable to me. You're doing it to protect yourself. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't wear a mask. But I see so many people not wearing masks. I see groups of people sometimes when I'm driving past, and I'm like, wait, we're going through something. It's not like the pandemic is over. Yes, the lockdown has been eased, but it's not been released. So but
it's like the seatbelt, right? Wear your seatbelts. How difficult is it to wear a mask?
Exactly. So I am worried, especially like you said, because my kind of work requires a certain density of people on set.
Right.
That's the only way. You cut down as much as you can. You still have a certain number of people, which it's tough to control. But I think hopefully producers will be very careful about following protocols. Now you have, I think, I don't know what they're called, but I think there are some corona management teams, which is basically that people make sure that all the protocols are being followed to the T. So I think that's a great one.
Right. I think in India is a little bit different, right? You actually cannot leave, or at least during lockdown, you had to be confined. I mean, the US, we didn't really have a lockdown, which is also probably why we are such a high death toll, unfortunately. But in India, the
Right.
situation was different, right?
Right. And just people thinking that this, I don't think a lot of people have understood how the virus really spreads. So this thing about meeting people, and then not meeting your family. I am, for example, when I meet people, I don't meet my parents for a few days at least, just to make sure that, I'm not showing any symptoms. Beyond that, one can't control
Right.
the situation, but at least I make sure that, okay, if I'm meeting people, like today I'm working with people, with my team, I won't meet my family for a while. I think you have to be careful about these things.
It really does baffle me, the fact that most people, or a lot of people, just think this is some people are calling it a hoax. Some people don't realize the seriousness of it. And it is unfortunate, collectively we can solve the crisis.
That has scared so many people, really?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's very unfortunate, but I do hope that people see the issue and evolve from it. That's all we can hope for. Right? Wear the mask, wash your hands, keep that distance. I mean, it is inconvenient. I'm not saying it's easy. It is an inconvenience. But the inconvenience will only go away at a certain point if we change.
But if you take those precautions, we'll probably be able to bounce back to normalcy very, very soon.
The new normal, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you gone on a flight, by the way, Vidya? Have you flown since this or no?
No, not yet. Not yet.
I'm too scared to. I mean,
no, I know of people who've traveled, and they say it's not that bad. And as a matter of fact, initially they were saying that probably you'll have people on alternate seats, but I don't think that's happening.
What is your morning routine? What do you do when you wake up? What is your mantra? So I want to wrap this up on a high note.
Oh my God! I start my day with a prayer, and then I do my 1 hour walk. And after my walk, I have my breakfast, and then I get down to do whatever else it is that I need to do. Whether that's shoot, or now, of course, it's not so much shoot, but then just go on with your day. Lots
of millions of promotions you have to do on Zoom now, on Skype and
yeah, exactly. Almost daily. It's crazy.
That's crazy. All right, so let's do a quick little rapid fire. We'll let you get going and carry on the rest of your evening. I know it's late for you in India. All right, so let's get our rapid fire with Vidya Balan. Vidya, 3 words to describe you.
Oh my God.
You were never to lose some words. Come on.
No.
I'll give you 5. It's okay. I'll give you a little bit more.
I'd say passionate. I'd say authentic, hopefully. I'd say loving.
I'll say kind and a good human being as well.
Oh, thank you.
Advice you would give yourself, Vidya, to your 10-year-old self?
That fat is cute, fat is cool, fat is great. You are just great the way you are.
You absolutely are. And you are now invited to a dinner party. It's 2025. What do you bring?
What do I?
What do you bring?
Hopefully something that I've cooked myself by then. I hope to have mastered the art of cooking.
You've been making modaks, right? Korkate, so maybe korkate.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you like to accomplish before your New Year's Day birthday?
This year's been tough on the world. I'm just hoping that the new year ushers in positivity and joy and prosperity everywhere in the world. So I don't know what I want to accomplish. I just hope that we all get through this year. That's it.
Fingers crossed for everybody. Fingers crossed for everybody. And as we wrap that up, I want to leave everyone with an inspirational quote that resonates with you. What is one of your favorite quotes that you've heard, your own quote, something that really sticks with you, to sort of leave everybody with that message of hope and positive energy?
Smile and the world will smile back at you. And it's not just about a smile. I think it's about everything that you put back into the world, you get back. So, just put out positivity, spread love, spread joy, spread faith. Humanity is actually very kind. That's my genuine belief. I think the world is a very kind place. The universe has your back. If you trust that, you'll realize that the universe does really have your back.
The universe certainly has all of our backs. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. The more you say thank you, the more life gives you reason to say thank you.
I love that. I absolutely love. Thank you for this interview. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I want to add this as we wrap up. We both grew up, we're both Tamil Ayyars, growing up in Chembur, didn't know who we were.
Yeah.
Went our separate ways. You went to St. Anthony's, I went to OLPS. We met at Kahani 4 years ago. And it's so funny how the timing and the universe works. And I always say that I never would have thought that you would actually get to not only meet a celebrity like you, but someone who's so kind and using your platform to inspire everybody. I think that's truly noble. So hats off.
How sweet. You made my evening, but I feel similarly about you. And God bless you.
Stay
happy.
Thank you. Likewise. Best of luck.
Thank you for this lovely interview, Archith.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.